There's the new one, and here's the old one. Rebuilt, brand new. Karl and Scott Knox calling you from, well, I guess we could call it Fort Knox.
Sure, why not?
But on Facebook and everywhere else, it's the Rebuild Shop. We got a lot of treasure in here that we're working on, Scott and his team, and I can add to that. Scott, I've just come back from England, and we got 700 pounds of Halifax parts, including 4 new carburetors for 4 engines.
Nice.
You know, brand new, with a preservative still inside them, so the seals are good. And a lot of other parts that we need for the Halifax rebuild. So that I can explain possibly a little bit later, but let's get to the meat of the subject here, Scott, is this beautiful improvements on the wing position and planning out for building more of the wings. So
sure.
Give us an update.
Sure. Yeah, so we completed the skinning on the starboard wing section. So there's just to remind everybody, we've got 30 feet of center section of wing here. So we had completed the port side last year. We've now completed the starboard side. So now that center section is, for all intents and purposes, done. Now we can move on to other elements, and we've chosen that the leading edge and trailing edge are going to be the next elements up. And so yeah, and we've rotated it into a flying attitude here, which I think is really great. And now it looks, instead of looking like a wall, it looks like a wing, which I find it just gives me a little bit of happiness, a little endorphins when I come into the shop and I see a wing in here. It actually looks like a wing. So it's really coming together. I'm super pleased with how it's coming together.
Well, that's great. And remember our lads over in Sweden, they found us flaps from the Halifax underwater, so I'll be able to ship those over to you sometime in the new year. And then not only do you have the leading edge and trailing edge, you'll have the flaps.
Have some flaps to work with. That's brilliant.
Yeah, so yes, we will find you more bones, and then you can put together a beautiful specimen for us.
Absolutely, no, for sure. And I was buoyed up, if you will. I went to visit the NA337, the Halifax at Trenton, 2 weeks ago now. And you know, every time I go down there, I get a little push, a little wind in my sails. You know, looking at that aircraft, and I can see elements of that aircraft, and I can look at this and what we're working on, and you know, it's coming along. I'm really happy, and I can see the end goal there. You know, and it just gives me added impetus to just keep pushing forward.
Folks, here's a full blueprint from the Halifax blueprints we've got from England. Thanks to Kees Broer, Mr. Halifax in Holland. When he built his Halifax cockpit, he gave us the over 300 drawings. And you can see the beautiful detail here, everything that you need to know about stations and devices and structures of the Halifax. And of course, we could work with the paper, but what we want to do is have a digital scan that's as accurate as this blueprint.
Just for you folks out there, Karl's been scanning all day today, passing the documents through. You haven't ripped a single one yet. You haven't jammed the machine once. I'm super impressed.
I know, but you know what, folks? Putting a blueprint through a digital scanner, I wanted to do something like watch paint dry. But oh no, I got blueprints.
But it's like artwork though, eh? These drawings are like artwork. So every time you open up a drawing, you take a look and you can't help but appreciate the level of skill. No computers, the level of skill these folks had, you know, the designing and everything else aside, just the drawings are absolute artwork.
Right.
So Karl, as we did with the leading edge, we've put some of the trailing edge parts just in place just to give us an idea of the shape. And we're starting to plan out how many ribs do we have, how many ribs do we need to fabricate, and how we're going to fabricate these pieces. And there's a lot of tooling involved and other things that we need to think about and look forward in time and say, okay, how are we going to do these? Are we going to build them in-house? Are we going to send them out to somebody else for fabrication? We have to make all those decisions now. But I think when you arrived this morning, you said you were struck as you walked in and you saw the leading edge attached to the front. It's like, whoa, that's nice to see. Eh? And something we can just show to the viewers here, they may wonder what this scallop is. Well, this is, as you pointed out on the other plan, this is the cutout for where the flap would go. Right. And what we have here is the flap hinge point. So the flap would actually fold down and out around this point.
Sure. So the flaps are tucked up for cruising. Right. And then when the pilot goes to land, he extends the flaps. So the flaps are powered out by that, and the flaps come down like this.
Well, yeah, they actually just rotate here.
Yeah, and you do your approach and landing, but now you can see rear wing and flap.
Right. Do you recall if they needed flap for takeoff?
Yes, there was a partial flap to add to lift for takeoff, but not as much flap as for landing. No. You need full flaps.
Full flap.
For slowing down landing.
If I'm correct, they were almost vertical on landing. They would come right down and almost
70,
vertical.
80 degrees down.
With 10 degrees on takeoff, kind of give or take?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's I'm super happy, super jazzed, and really looking forward to getting this phase completed as well, and then we can move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, folks, these guys have been busting their buns for you, and all that funding that you've donated, it's going to a good place. This is building up Halifax Bomber, and it's the magic happens here. And when I go over to England, Scott, I try and be as frugal as I can with our donors' money, but it is expensive to be over there for a week. And I can easily spend $2,000 in transport, gas, and just minimal expenses to get all the goodies. And so I am concerned with finding the support, the donations to help Scott and his team. That's sort of my bailiwick. And so I'm hoping that you folks, as we come up to Christmas, that you would consider a little bit of a gift for our Christmas stocking to keep us going on saving another Halifax for Canada. So we certainly hope that you could support us as we move towards the new year 2023. Scott, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, just I think what we've done, we're showing progress here. So your support is fundamental for the work we've done to date and going forward. So indeed, fully agree. Anything that you can do to help would be much appreciated. So
Scott, we're pretty well winding up our short and sweet message to the folks out there. And all you folks that have been our supporters and our fans for so long, we just wanted Scott and I to say Merry Christmas and have a healthy, happy New Year. And let's stay in touch. Let's continue on our adventure. And Scott, I'm sure you feel the same way.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you.
Good. Thanks a lot, everybody.
And never for long shall they be left behind.